Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so hyped to be here and to talk about my passion, which is to make wicked experience, basically. So I'm here to talk about how to make games out of your everyday work tools, and that can be some of the software that you use on a daily basis. I am a saxophone player, educated saxophone player, but I also tend to call myself a sound artist, since it's kind of sums up what I do. I do a mix between sound design and composition, and then have a passion for interactivity. I've done some interactive soundtrack for comic books, and I have done theater, and I have done some haunted horror house with audio that I will also get back to later. And I see myself as a systemic thinker who refuses to learn how to code, basically. The last year or so, then I have learned to code, and I have gotten a bit better at it, but it's definitely not my expertise. These are some of the titles that I have worked on that I'm pretty proud of. Then also did some content creation for Wwise, and I'm currently working at Åudio Sound for some secret projects. That's how it is in the game industry. The first thing I want to talk about is this software here, Reaper. How many people know this software by hand? Okay. How many people are not audio people in here? Okay, great. So it's like 50-50. So this is like the most known software for game audio because it's versatile. You can do some scripting, you can do some modification, you can do some heavy batch processing. So it's really great for game audio when you need to export 200 sound files at once. Then that's really the software to go to. And that's also the software that I use on a everyday basis, and that's something that I have gotten used to. So I wondered, is it possible to use Reaper as a game engine? Because I mapped my keyboard shortcuts to move some media items up and down with the ASDW keys, so I can like quickly move them up one track, or I can move them one grid point or one beat to the right or to the left. And while I was doing that, I was thinking this almost feels like a game. I have the controls for it now. I just need to make a game. So that was the first question I was asking. And then the second question, why should I make a game inside of Reaper? It's not a software that's meant to build games in. It's a software that's meant to develop audio and do music in. But I actually did make a game inside of Reaper at a game jam. So I had 44 hours. So I wanted to give myself the constraint to not use any game engine, to not use any scripting, and just see how far I could go with it. So I started by wireframing the game, and I found out that it's actually possible to do kind of 2D side scroller in it, and I can move with the arrow keys or WESD. Whoops. And then I found out that it would be fun if you could collect points. That's the points here, and you can avoid enemies. That's the black ones here. Then you basically just have to go from the start to the finish line. And that was actually done in like the first 5 hours of the game jam. Then I had 40 hours left. So I did some randomly generated levels, and I did some adaptive MIDI soundtrack in a way, like that it went faster and it went slower. It was not super interactive music, and then also did some custom animation kind of with the MIDI items that I will show you here in this video. of the gameplay. There we go. So this is basically a showcase of the video, and we don't have any sound here. I think that it's on the wrong audio device here on my computer. It probably takes the HDMI. So 2 seconds. Yeah, USB capture, take headphones. Let's try again. There we go. So we have this really bad MIDI soundtrack, but I built it by only using the built-in synthesizers in Reaper, and also did it in the last half hour or so. So you control this green block here, and you collect points. You avoid the black enemies here, and then this cursor here is what I call the creeper. You don't want to get caught up by the creeper while you play the game. So if you get caught up, then you lose. So you basically have to go to the finish line, and all the points and the black items here, they're randomly generated and randomly positioned. So each time that you play the game, then you get a different level, basically. And here soon we are nearing the finish line. Then we switch over to some more victorious music with a nice clean hard cut on the music. And this is also where I went a bit nuts with the programming, so to say. So I made this end section of the level where there's some objects dancing around, as you will see here. Yeah, so you can also see this was randomly made, but this part of the level here is designed. Whoa. And I think I pressed the wrong button here. Let's just skip to the end here. I'm not sure why it switched light here. Okay, then never mind. Okay, yeah. But then go to the finish line, and then the picture shows up and saying, "Congratulations, you won the game." And as I also said, I didn't want to use any code or anything. So what I did was basically just build some macros. Like basically, it's some fancy if this then that statement. So there's a bunch of things here. Like for instance, for each frame, then you need to find the player here, so you will be able to select that item, so you can control it with the keys and not any other items. So I'm not going to go into huge detail here, but what I did was just to put the player item that's called player here, and the first thing I do is to unselect everything, go back to this item here, and then find it, and then you can control it with the keys. And this is, for instance, the system of how it works with the game zoom and like the side-scrolling thing. So it's a bunch of experiments that I did. They work together, and yeah, that's pretty much it from Reaper here. And I just want to showcase what I actually learned from it. First of all, I learned some new scripts and some new plugins that I use this day in my Reaper projects. And also changed my keyboard shortcuts to feel more like a game, and that has increased my workflow at least. It's definitely not for everybody, but maybe it works for me. And also got a much deeper understanding what is Reaper capable of, where is its limitations, and what its constraints. And then I like to think that I'm able to problem solve a bit faster than I could before. And the most important thing that I learned is that audio always comes last in the game production, because I did the music like 1 hour before deadline or something like that, and it didn't realize, that's what happening at every other game studio. Like, in the end, then you think of the audio. And if you want to read my really righty-tighty Reaper blog post when you're ready, then there's a QR code here, or you can go to the link, or you're welcome to ask me afterwards, then I can send you a link. I can pause it here for a bit so you can take pictures, yeah. I think this clicker maybe goes on automatically after a few seconds, or maybe it's some settings here. So that's probably why it skips the slides in sometimes. Yeah. So that was Reaper. So let's talk about some other software called Wwise. So how many people know Wwise in here? Yeah. Okay. So how many people actually use Wwise in their daily work? No one. Okay. Didn't get a great introduction here, because Wwise is some game audio middleware that you usually use to connect sound designers with a game engine in a middle program, so you can do a lot of fun, creative things. That's just much harder to do in code in, for instance, Unity or in Unreal. So it's a really cool, versatile software, but where it's lacking is definitely with its user interface. It's something from the 90s, and this is something that you have to work with every day, like gray boxes and a text area. So it's not inspiring, and it doesn't have that much graphic display. So I have been decided I want to make a game inside of Wwise, but how do I do that, since this is basically what you're looking at? It does have some opportunities, but it doesn't have the great customization abilities that, for instance, Reaper had. So it's a much harder task to do. It make some experiments in it. Here is not a game, but I took inspiration in the Estonian composer Arvo Pärt. If you know him, he's one of my favorite composers. He has a very strict mindset when he composes. So he has a melody and then some harmonies that strictly follows the melody. So then I actually managed to build that Tintin composition system, as he's famous for, inside of Wwise. So this is like a self-driving musical engine. And here it's the piece Spiegel im Spiegel that's played by itself in Wwise. Yeah. And then the question is how to use Wwise as a game engine. And the answer came to me while I was doing the Haunted Horror House together with Reza Schwarzwald, who is sadly not today. She is sadly not here today. She got COVID. So, but I definitely want to give credit to Reza, because she came up with the idea on how to use Wwise as a game engine. And we found out that you can use the voice profiler, as it's called. So this is like the most graphic display that you have in Wwise. So you're able to get some colors, and you can get some different things on the screen. It's mainly used to see if the game is working correctly, to see if the audio is going to the right bus, and if there's low pass filter on the channel and something like that. So it's used to display some information. And when she came up with the idea to use the voice profiler, that's when I came up with the idea to make a game called Whack-A-Mole. So Whack-A-Mole is a game where you have to have his hammer here, and then have to punch a mole that shows up at a random hole here. So you probably know it from Tivolis and carnivals and so on. So that's actually what I made inside of Wise, and I was so hyped, so excited. Actually thought that she would make a game before me, so I made it in 2 days. Then I texted her. I said, okay, I made something truly crazy. Are you sitting down for this? Then she wrote, I wrote again, oh my God, I'm so hyped. I was. Then she wrote, sure, what's that? And then I sent her this video here that I'm also gonna show you now. I think it's a bit out of order, so I'm apologize for that. There we go. So I'm gonna show this video here, then I'm gonna explain a bit more what's going on in the video. But it's basically the game of Whack-A-Mole, where you have the display that can be used. So up there, then you can see which buttons did you suppress. For instance, now there comes up button 3. Then you press button 3 down here. Yeah, and then I made some mole generators that I will talk more about in a minute. And so that's basically what I sent to Reza, and I built that in 2 days or something like that. Then she wrote me this. She was over the moon, and she thought it was hilarious. She thought it was hilarious with the mole, the no mole kind of thing. And then she asked, is there a game engine referring to, is it in Unity, is it Unreal, is it connected to anything? No, it's just in Wise. There's nothing else going on. It's just the software creating a game, basically. So what's happening is that I have this thing called a mole generator. So it switches randomly if it's mole 1, 2, 3, 4, or if it's no mole. So there's a higher chance that there's a no mole, meaning silence, and if there's a mole, then it picks random if it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the mole event, I actively use the music system in Wise, but because then you're able to put some music events in it. So for instance, here, when it's mole 2 or mole 3, then a state is set, the mole is up, and when the event is finished, then the mole is down again. So that's something that you would typically do in a game engine to tell the system we have a mole up or a mole down. So that's what's happening here. And when you press the button, when you press whack 1, then you press the hammer event, and to avoid problems, I found out then you have to stop the event, like basically after, otherwise it would just get spammed in the system. So that's what happening here, and then let's look at what's happening when you press this button. So you press this button, then this play thing happen, and here. This is this. So if it's a hit, then it goes to this line here, and if it's a miss, it goes to this line here. So that's basically also just a fancy if statement. So we have the only time that you can get a hit in this segment if it's mole number 1, if the mole is up, and you hit mole number 1, then you get a hit. Everything else resolves in a miss. And I did the same for mole 2, 3, and 4, basically. And if you miss, then you call an event that you go a life down. You have 3 lives to complete it. And if you hit, then you get a bigger score. So the scores is basically just some manually programming. I didn't find any smart way of doing it. So you start with score of 0, and then when you get the next score, then you go to to the next line here to get a score 1, 2, then just place the next the next segment, basically. So that was, that's like 100 points. I had to do that kind of semi-manually. And the same thing goes with the lives. Did you have 3 lives? And when there's 0 lives left, then it's game over. So that's basically the game here. Right. And then also made 3 difficulties. And that was simply by extending the length of the time that the mole is up. So there's an easy mode that's 1.5 seconds, medium mode on 1 second, and then hard mode on half a second. Then I made a tutorial that's basically some text events. You can read them here. They are in alphabetic order, but then they show up here. It says, welcome to Whack-A-Mole. Smack those events and those moles. So get ready. Here we go, basically. And those are displayed by the voice profiler that I showed before. So it basically creates some audio buzzes. Like I made one buzz called enjoy and listen. That's the music. And then there's one called read me. That's the tutorial. And then there's one called whack me. That's when you have to hit the moles with a hammer. So you can actually like diverse the information here in device profiler, and then you can focus on what you should read on. And if it's game over, then the music slows down, like it slows down, and then the pitch is down, and then it stops after 3 seconds, I think. That happens when you lost 3 lives. And if you win, then you get this text that runs in the same way as the tutorials. It says, congratulations, you beat the game and whack the moles. How wonderful! And that happens if you play all of the music soundtrack in it, like in all its length. That's like 2 or 3 minutes. And do you have any volunteers to actually try the game? Tom, do you want to give it a go? So that's why we need to. Okay. Yeah. So basically, what you have to do is just use a mouse for this, and then you first have to press start the game. And then you have to look up here where the moles are, and then you have to whack it there. Let's go. Yeah, we can see that at the stage. Where is it? Oh no, game over. Then we can set the difficulty to easy. Yeah. So let's start the game again, and then we can also just skip the tutorial. There we go. There we go. That's the point. Oh no. Okay, thank you, Tom. You didn't win this time. Yeah. It is. So this is great fun and enjoyment at the Game Audio Christmas parties. So we go back to our slides here. Yeah, and that pretty much concludes all the games that I made in Wwise. But it actually doesn't. I actually made another game in Wwise that I'm just going to showcase really quickly here. It's based on this doll here. Do you remember her from Squid Games? We'd have to run to the goal without her looking. So there we can see here that we have to say there's something wrong. Let's see, singing, turning, looking, you, scanning, and that's scary robot. And then you just have to press this walk button here. So that's the only button here in this game. Then you have some distance that you have to cross. I think it's it's set to 10, and then the seconds that's set to 60 seconds. So if you don't do it in the 60 seconds, then you lose. So this is how it works with the robot. You have to run when she's not looking, and you can see that she's singing, she's turning, she's scanning, and then it's random how long the silence is. So you really never know how long time you have. Also, the game goes faster and faster for each time. There's a lot of manual work here with the timer. That's the same way as the live before. And let's see how that works. Oh, that was too soon. So now I died. Yeah. Oh, and of course, Reza here also asked if I could make a postmortem for it at the Audio Kinetic blog. So that's actually what I did. I did write a blog post about the whole process here, so you can also scan that and learn much more about the details in the game here. Yeah, I'm just going to wait until everybody's taking a picture. Yeah. And it should work with the QR codes. Yeah, cool. And that's pretty much the games that I made. So I want to pass the ball on to you. If you have any good suggestions to make games, I, for instance, came up with something in Notion. How about making a dungeon crawler RPG? Because you can go into all the pages and you can do some wacky stuff. How about playing tic-tac-toe in Trello? Or maybe you can make a Tetris game out of it. I don't know. How about making a co-op bomb disarmer in an email program? So you can maybe make a bot that they can send out some automated messages. Like this is just to show you that the opportunities are pretty much endless. And sometimes it can be a really good idea to constrain yourself, and that can lead to a lot of creativity flowing around. And that's a really great way to learn your everyday work though. That's a really great way to get to learn your everyday workday tools and see what they can and what they cannot do. That's pretty much it for me. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Yeah.
Daniel, mic check. Okay. Daniel, do you have any plans, like business plans with these, I don't know, Wise games or Reaper games? Or have you?
Yeah, I have a lot of plans, little time. For instance, with the Wise game, I want to make a multiplayer. So I want to send MIDI signals through to another computer, so you can send and receive messages. So I think some ideas that you can make some how do you call it, sync battleship. So you have to sync the other battleships maybe.
Yeah, but you have quite a big difficulty because only the people who have the Wise already installed can play. So you cannot make any build or export.
It's definitely the most niche game market ever here. But it's on GitHub actually. So if you have Wise, then you can download it yourself. Then you can try it out. Yeah.
Any questions?
So in the Reaper game, how did you work with the music? Did that line up like on the top of the cursor, or is that like?
Yeah. Yes. So the thing about Reaper is that you can actually have multiple projects open at once. So you can have like tabs of projects that then can be synced to the other project. So there's actually two solutions that you could do. I started with just putting all the music at the bottom of the project so you couldn't see it. Then also started experimenting, having the project tab where we have some more opportunities since it's a totally different project. So you could change the BPM midway and something like that, which will leave the main game project unaffected. Yes?
So that's all? Yes, guys?